Okay, sorry about being late. I just gotta running a little behind. I had to set everything up really quick, and my laptop loves to give me a bunch of pop-ups, so I'm trying to get rid of these real quick. Oh, my chat's disabled. Hang on, or maybe I just can't see it. So we'll go to the pop-up version. There we go. We'll get that. Move that right over there. All right, so again, it looks like we got a few people in the chat, so we'll just give it a few minutes and then we'll start this fun little rant. So, as you guys can see by the title, today we're going to be going over the spider ball python gene. Is it ethical? Is it not ethical? And my thoughts about it. I've read or listened to pretty much every single spider ball python video that's on YouTube. I've watched it. It's about 3 hours of content that I've watched. To be honest, I'm a little bit sick of the spider ball python conversations now. Pretty much they all kind of state the same way. If you're biased towards spider ball pythons, you have these arguments. And if you're biased against it, you have these arguments. So we'll talk a little bit about that. Have a little list of each YouTuber that I've listened to, and I'll talk a little bit about some stuff that they said that I'm supportive of, and then some things that I'm against. So really the main ones we'll be talking about is, of course, Go Herping. We got to talk about Go Herping's video. I'll go over Dave Kaufman, who was the newest opinion in the spider ball python gene. And I mean, pretty much to sum it up, my ideals and opinion really is the same with Dave Kaufman. He pretty much wraps it up in the same way that I would, or what I'm going to do here today. Of course, nerd, we had to talk about or listen to Kevin's side on it because he is the originator of the gene. Clint's Reptiles, listened to Olympus Reptiles, CS Royals, of course, Brian Barczyk's one, which I'll be honest was a little rough. I don't know, man. There's something about Brian Barczyk when he does like the eye thing. I can't stand it. And then there was a small YouTuber, Mother of Serpents, a really small person. She has like 100 and something subscribers. But there were a few things I listened to that there were some points that she made that other people didn't that I was really interested in. And she listed some things that no one else did. And I really liked the stuff that she had to say. So we'll be talking about her. And then finally, Brian Cusco. So we're getting a couple more people now, so we'll start getting into this. How's it going, Flips and Moes? How you guys doing today? So the spider ball python gene. This rant pretty much, or this controversy really came up in about 9-10 months ago. I think that's where most of the video started. It started with the Expo ban in the United Kingdom. It wasn't any government legislations. I'm not 100% sure if there has been since then, but as far as my knowledge, what started this all was the the Expo banning the spider ball python sales at their expo. So that's what started. Then Brian Barczyk made a video on it, pretty upset that they did ban it. He listed some reasons, which some I do agree with, some I don't agree with. And that's what really started this whole thing. Then you had Go Herping, CS Royals, people like that making response videos to Brian Barczyk and, kind of poking some holes in the statements that he was saying and listing their reasons why they think that the ball python gene is bad. Then you had Kevin, Olympus, and really pretty much everyone else started stating their opinion, which the last one, as I know of, was Dave Kaufman, who, for some reason, 10 months later was like, here, I'll give my opinion on the spider ball python gene, which is really bringing it to, DBCB Exotics is going to bring his opinion on the spider ball python gene. So, spider ball python gene. Oh, real quick, we only got like 2 people in here. So what do you 2 people think about the spider ball python gene? Let's get a little bit into that. What is up with people, like people that love the spider ball python gene? I mean, to be honest, it's a beautiful gene, and it makes some crazy stuff. I think that's where a lot of stuff stems from, is just its ability to make some crazy visual patterns with the ball pythons. So we had some people, and then we lost some people. So we'll give it a couple more minutes, and then start this up. Oh, here we go. No, it didn't work. I don't know why. Sorry, I don't know what my chat's disabled on lead, so I have to do like a pop-up program, and I'm not sure why it's doing that. Sorry, I'm trying to situate stuff to where I can see it. Okay, in my opinion, you shouldn't breed it if there's something wrong with them. It is not great, but I get why people breed them, but I don't really support it, so 2 against. The point is, they only know the wobble. There is no real biological studies. I don't think they should be bred, but I don't agree with the bans. I swear to God. Yeah, I think that's a really big point, is the fact that there's no there's actually been no scientific studies. So, I mean, that can really be with either way. You can't 100% say these snakes are fine without just giving simply anecdotal evidence or things like that. And you can't say that these snakes are suffering either, because there's really no study on them either way. As long as no one will do it, there are problems with a lot of genes. What about the other ones? Why just spider? Why ban anything? Just open the doors for the wrong people. Michael Ross, thank you. That's fucking awesome. And that's a huge thing, yeah. So what people don't actually, what one of the, there's only one YouTuber that actually stated this. They talked about champagnes. So champagnes, jag carpets, and jag retics also display the same genetic defect that is correlation with like the wobble. And I don't really know why. Honestly, I think the stuff that I was saying about earlier is just the fact that the United Kingdom Expo banned this, which caused Brian, a huge social media guy, to make a video about the spider, which kind of shined a light on it. So that's a real issue that I'm talking about. I see a lot of people making videos against the spider ball python, but you don't see anyone making videos against the champagne ball python, the jag carpet, jag retics, stuff like that, everything. There's only like a handful of people. And honestly, the people that are making videos about the, like, say, ball pythons with genetic defects are people like Chris Hardick, who is in support and breeds spider ball pythons, but is openly talking about that some of these ball pythons do have issues. As long as you know that something affects an animal, you shouldn't breed, in my opinion. By the way, love the tattoos. Oh, thanks, man. That's awesome. Scaleless, that's a good example as well, but I think scaleless snakes are just a little weird in general. But we got 6 people on here. Let's start this bad boy up. So pretty much I'm just going to be going over everyone's video that I watched. For some of the new people that are in here, I pretty much spent the entire day watching, and most of last night, watching spider ball python videos, really getting as much information as I could on both sides, people for it and people against it. So pretty much how we'll set this up is, like, I'll start with Go Herping's video. I'll talk about some points that I agree with him, some points that I disagree with, and then I'll take a look at the chat, see what you guys are saying, and then move on to the next guy. Lastly, we'll talk a little bit about, what my opinion is on it, and talk a little bit, ending it with why government regulations are really the worst thing that you can do for the reptile community. So with that being said, let's get into it. So Go Herping's video. This guy is probably the most popular one that I've seen. He's sitting at, I want to say, 800,000 views for his spider ball python one. And there are some things that I was like, okay, that's pretty cool. I can get with that. But then there are some things where I'm like, what the fuck is this guy talking about? The biggest thing that I had a problem with was when he starts out, this is like 2 minutes into the video, he's talking about, and states, some dude found the spider ball python gene, liked it, and he figured out how to breed it. So this is someone that didn't do any research what the spider gene is, didn't know that Kevin McCurley was the one that bred it, and really didn't know anything about, the history of the spider ball python, which kind of threw me off from the very get-go. Another thing, really the biggest thing that I have a problem with Go Herping's video is his only example that he's showing of like a live example is his rescue spider ball python, just one. And a real issue I have with that is the fact that it's a rescue. I have no idea what this animal's been through, what kind of condition it was met, and there is, again, all anecdotal. There's no real scientific studies, but it is shown from multiple people that are having these guys and keeping them that overheating plays a big part on neurological defects and can worsen the spider gene. So this could simply be a case that maybe this animal was kept perfectly and it just happened to have a severe wobble, or this rescue was kept incorrectly. It was too stressed, it was too overheated, and that's what caused this neurological thing to really worsen to this awful. He shows it the corkscrewing. It can't get up off its back. It can't eat. It's biting itself. Things like that. And he kind of portrays it as this is the norm for spider ball pythons. And it's something that I have a big problem with, because if I will go over it later, but if you look at other people's videos, their spider ball pythons are having like little to zero issues. And they're giving multiple examples of breeders, babies that are all not having these issues that Go Herping is saying all spider ball pythons are. He lists some video sources, and those, again, are the worst case scenario. Spider ball pythons that are bashing their head against the wall, corkscrewing, and not being able to eat. Now, I feel like that's a little bit of just shock value, trying to get his point across, so we're going to give the most extreme example. It's something I'm a little bit like, okay, guy, that's, let's use the worst example to state this. And, the issue I have with it is he was the biggest video. He has 800,000 people watching it, and now there are 800,000 people that might have not had any idea about the spider ball python gene and now think it is this horrible, monstrous gene that that only does stuff like that, where the animal's not able to pick up, eat, and it's just bashing its head against everything. Hang on, I see that light is really glaring. Sorry, little dude, we're going to turn that off real quick, make it a little easier for everyone. One other thing that I had a huge problem with is Go Herping talks about, so I don't know about everyone else. I've known there's a lot of people that are against it, just talk about how they don't ethically breed the spider ball python. CS Royals is one where she just talks about not breeding them. But Go Herping seems to be really into getting these policies and getting government regulations in on this, and saying that we need outside sources to intervene on this, because we as a community cannot do it ourselves. He's talking about how policing ourselves is not going to work, and then makes references to like oil companies and electric companies, talking about how, say, oil companies, if there were no regulations, they would just dump oil in oceans and things like this. And even if they like the environment, that they're just in it for the money, and that's just what they're going to do, because they're all about the money and they don't care about the environment. I think it's a really weird comparison to make. It's just a little odd. So we're like the big oil tycoons into snake breeders. I don't know. I don't see the similarities. Again, I feel like it was just an extreme and didn't really have much grip to it. But really into government regulations, I think policing ourselves would work. I don't think the way he's talking about policing himself is, again, with that oil company, talking about like what's ethical and what's not, and just letting the people decide. I think this is going to be a classic case of supply and demand. And I see a lot of people that are for the ball python gene stating that if there is no demand, they're not going to sell. It's all about marketability. You, the consumer, the customer, are in charge of what sells and what doesn't sell. For the most part, for any of these big breeders that are making all these, genes, you really dictate how much they're going to breed. If there's a bunch of people buying spider ball pythons, a bunch of people are going to breed spider ball python. Supply and demand. If there's enough people that are against the spider ball python gene, not many people breed the spider ball python gene, because there's no point. It doesn't sell. Lastly, something that I thought was really funny about the Go Herping argument. He talks a lot. So he went on Morph Market, and he talked a lot about how much spider ball pythons were. And he just went on real quick and was stating numbers like $300, $500. Like, oh my God, Brian's making so much bread. He makes so much money off the spider ball python gene, because look at how much they are, $300 to $500. I took the courtesy of going to Morph Market and looking at a couple different genes, and let's check out the pricing on these guys. So here we have, I just looked up the first page of the spider gene. I didn't put anything else, just spider. We got pastel spider clowns for $700. Killer bee ball pythons, which is the spider with super pastel, for $500. We got a couple honeybees for $850 and spiders for $350. So pretty much $75 is just for a regular, up to $850. So now let's check out piebalds. So we have piebalds for $400, $450, $1,500, $750. Pretty in line with the spider gene, wouldn't you guys say? Well, we'll take a look at clowns. $700, $900, $500, $1,500, $400. A little more better than the spider ball python gene. Let's take a look at the banana morph. 500, 400, 250, 450, 1200. So it does seem, I went to a lot of these. I think you guys get the point. It does seem that the spider ball python seems to just be in market of other genes that are either recessive or, like I said, I did the banana. There was some other ones that I mentioned. I did some incomplete dominant ones, but they're all pretty much the same price. I'm not going to keep talking about it. It's all relative marketability. It's not like the spider ball python gene is in so much more of a crazy high market than, say, any of the other morphs that you're commonly finding. And that was the really last problem I had with Go Herping's video. I'll be honest, there wasn't much stuff I supported with him. I didn't really like the video. It was long, and he kind of kept going over the same things over and over again. But yeah, let's check out the comments now. So I don't know where it started, so this will take me 1 second. Okay, so here we are. Oh, yes, I totally forgot. I am going to put this in the description after the video, but a huge shout out to, I'm not trying to mispronounce this, but I might, Mariola Lapal. Her spider Molly is the spider ball python that is showcased in the thumbnail. I don't have a spider ball python. I don't have very many ball pythons. I have a few over the years, but we really are down to, I think we only have like one at this point. So didn't have a spider ball python to showcase in the thumbnail. Didn't want to rip one off of Google, and they were kind enough to give me a picture for the thumbnail. So huge shout out to them. I'll be putting them in the description. If you guys are interested in some ball pythons, I would definitely check them out. There is no business page, I asked them, so I'm just going to put the name down in the description. After this video, I'll edit it in the description. You guys can check them out, or just go right now if you want to. Does anyone here have spiders or any wobble gene? Yes, but shouldn't open doors for other people to make laws telling us what we can and cannot do. Michael Ross, I totally agree with you. We are going to get to that point. I have huge examples. It's going to be a long tangent. I'm trying to keep this in a bit of a chronological order. This is the one where I really want to structure the best, so I'm trying not to go too off topic or anything. I wouldn't breed or buy a spider as long as I'm not sure they are 100% healthy. That's something I'm also going to get into later, is about the 100% healthy part from the very get-go. John, what are you talking about? What smart-ass joke is this, John? I'm drawing a blank. Use a study on the gene. Just be responsible with your breeding. I don't like Go Herping video, but yes, I'm just that one extreme example. Sally, I do have a spider. Yes, that was the person that had the spider. Sorry, I'm just skimming these real quick. I wasn't sure what the best way to do this part was, but I don't want to just go on a long tangent and not read the comments, so it's just going to take me a second to read them all. I think Arga's main argument is that people will not correct their behavior if profit is involved. Okay, but that's the thing that I'm talking about when we're talking about supply and demand. If there's enough people that do think that the spider ball python gene is not worth it, it's not good, it's not ethical, then they would not buy it. And if enough people do, then the supply will not be there, so the demand will go down. I don't think if there's any profit involved, that would just mean that people are going to keep breeding them. It's just, what's the hot ticket item? And spiders are still right now in demand, even though with all the controversies past couple of years I've been going with them, they haven't seemed to die out, in my opinion. I don't think the government should be involved. Usually ends up being a vector of abuse of power. Yes, Daniel, very true. Again, we are going to get into that. Trust me, you guys are going to want to stick around for this. I'm going to get very, it's going to get a little crazy. Fishing NYC, what is up? I agree, Daniel. People won't police themselves and money is to be made. I don't think bans are the right option, but I think people need to be educated on what a wobble is before they buy one. Yes. I was smart and got a Powerade because I know my voice is going to go to shit with all this talking. I think laws are a good thing. In Germany, you're not allowed to breed animals that have health issues. In my opinion, it is a good thing to protect animals with laws because they can't protect themselves. I don't agree with that. I'm sorry. I don't want to make enemies with anyone here, which was pretty silly making a controversial video because this stuff is going to happen, but I don't know. I think I wanted just a video of my opinion being explained because I brushed a little bit on it on the last stream, and surprisingly, a lot of people were for it and were agreeing with me, which I was like, oh shit, I thought a bunch of people were going to jump on me, but I wanted to make a full video on it because I only brushed a little bit on it, and I really wanted to get all the information on what my opinion is out there because I don't see a bunch of people want to make videos about this. You know, little smirk on Wiccan's Wicked Reptile. Someone asked him, and he was like, "Oh, I don't want to talk about it." I'm like, "I'll talk about it. I don't care about controversy." You know, no shade on Wiccans. I love the guy. Great videos. Great dude. Laws are a good thing if our government is respectable. That said, if money is to be made, people will not stop themselves. In the end, it doesn't matter. No laws will be introduced and no counter will be given, but buyers and other than those who care to be informed, and even then they may not disagree. But no, John, what was the gecko thing? Same. I really liked it. That's why I wanted to make this a live stream instead of a video because I wanted to see what everyone who watches me's opinions are. I shared this to like every Facebook group I could find because I want to get as much people as I can because I want to see just what people have ideas. Oh yeah, the greatest thing in these past few days is my fiance, Renee, totally has a different opinion than me. And so we have clashed a lot these past few days and gotten a lot of debates about it. So I've kind of had my pre-debate these past couple days. Oh, there we go. Okay, John. Okay. This fucking guy, I swear. Hey, can you help me out, John? How do I ban you? Let's see. Oh my god, you can ban people. Banned. No, I'm just kidding, man. Oh, I can add. You can be a moderator? Maybe later. We'll see how you do, John. Anyway. So, we talked about Go Herping's video, someone against it. Talk a little bit. I didn't put these in any order. It was just whatever the YouTube algorithm suggested next is what I clicked on. So Dave Kaufman is the one that was after. So we'll talk. There's not much to say about Dave Kaufman's video. I don't know if you guys have watched it. If you haven't, I like Dave Kaufman's video probably the best out of all the Spider Ball Pythons videos. So Dave Kaufman, I feel like he's not really. He seems to be a bit in the middle. Watching his video, I don't think he's completely for the gene, but I don't think he's completely against it either. For those of you who don't know, Dave Kaufman used to breed the spider gene. He was really wicked into the spider gene and wanted to be known for breeding the spider gene. But after years of breeding it, he just felt himself morally and ethically that it was not something he wanted to do, and he switched to pieds. That being said, he stated that he does not have issues with other people breeding the spider ball python or the spider ball python gene in of itself. He just felt personally for him, he did not want to, he felt like morally he did not want to breed it, which that's his opinion, that's his right, and that's what it's all about. We're going to be talking about. Big thing he was into, and I completely agree with, was no government regulations, and how government regulations is just going to open up a Pandora's box into just the unknown, and it's just going to become a slippery slope down from there. We'll get into that a bit later, but not now. We'll move a little bit more into Nerd's video. Of course, Kevin McCurley, the founder and breeder of the very first spider gene. This was someone that I really wanted to get into. His video was pretty long, about half an hour, and I was really interested in what he had to say, being the founder of the gene and having so much backlash for it. I wanted to know his take on it. So right off the bat, I wish they did a better job. I love Nerd. They're probably my favorite channel to watch here. I frequently go to zoo creatures, things like that. But their video on the spider ball python gene wasn't constructed very well. And I don't know. I wish they took it a little more seriously. They talked about in a couple of their live streams remaking the video, but I haven't seen it yet. I hope they do. I hope they get a little more information out there instead of just what they did. One thing so actually this goes for a couple of people that are for the spider ball python gene. They talked a lot about the desert gene. So if anyone doesn't know about the desert gene, it was a morph found to have a genetic defect in which the females were not growing to proper size and they could not pass eggs healthily. A lot of them weren't ovulating. They weren't being able to lay fertile clutches, and if any of them did, they most likely got egg bound and died. And so when a lot of these big breeders talk about policing themselves, they go into and they use that's like their ace in the hole. You know, their prime example is the desert gene, which I don't know. I think it's a little bit apples to orange when you're talking about a genetic defect that pretty much 50% clutch kind of is worthless, monetarily worthless to you. You know, don't have me for saying that a snake is worthless. But if you're a breeder and you're talking monetary gain, having females, unless you're selling them for a pet, is not really worthwhile. And they talk about how the females just weren't doing good and were constantly losing weight after a certain amount of time. They kind of just deteriorate and they just weren't thriving. The males were doing fine. And so a lot of people just took a step back and got out of the desert gene, which, I don't know, you're talking about an animal that's clearly not thriving. So I guess like with as far as ethicability goes, yeah, you are stopping that. But at the same time, there is very less monetary gain to be made at the same time for those of you who support this argument that spider ball pythons are just here to make money. So it could have gone either way. And I felt like it is a bit like a cop out to be like, oh, well, the desert gene, that's what we're going to use as our example. But, you know, nothing bad about that, not too much, but I just thought it was a bit of a cop out. I'm not going to be biased on anyone. I'm not going to choose favorites. I'll call out shit as I see. People can call out shit on me as they see fit. That's a great thing about an opinion. Lastly, the best thing I liked about Nerd was they brought out multiple snakes. So really, everyone that made a video against a ball python, spider ball python gene, brought out one snake. It was usually a rescue, and it had the worst wobble that you could possibly see, horrible corkscrewing, things like that. But when you have people like Nerd, Clint's, and Olympus Reptiles, they brought out multiple snakes, and you got to see some clear examples of things that had a little bit more of a bad wobble, where you did see some slight corkscrewing. Really, any of the breeders that we saw, I don't know, maybe they're hiding the worst snake, but the snakes they're showing were, you know, pretty moderately bad with the spider gene, and they said that's the worst snake. We can only take the word out of people. You know, take it as you may, but they brought snakes out that were spiders, clear spiders, and really had barely, like, if it wasn't a spider ball python video and I didn't know what a spider was, I would not think the snake had any genetic defect. It had a small shake, but was totally in tune with where it was at. It seemed to have fine motor skills. It was moving along the ground just fine. So it's just something to where, you know, if you're just seeing these videos about the worst case scenario about spider ball pythons, then you kind of paint them out to be this horrible thing. And a thing I really appreciated about people like Nerd, Clint, Olympus was they were showing spider ball pythons that, yes, they did have the wobble, but it really was not that bad of a thing. That about does it for Nerd's video. All in all, it was pretty interesting. They go a little bit into Go Herpings and CS Royals video and talk a little bit about their talk to some of their crew and then to Kevin, and they give some arguments about it. Again, I'm not going to link anything. Just type spider ball python gene and you'll get all the videos that you want to watch. If you want to dive into 3 hours of spider ball python videos like I did, go for it. It's crazy. All right. Let's get back. Okay. All right, sorry. It takes me a second to jump back to it. With your tech know-how, I don't think there's a chance I'll be. Hey, I figured out how to ban John. You right-click the 3 dots, and there's a ban. So watch it. You're 3 steps away from being banned, sir, or being a moderator, because I need this chat's out of hand. It's not. As far as I know, wobble is genetically linked with spiders, and all of them have it, but it degrees vary. Right, I'm not entirely sure on this. Does someone here know? Yep, so the spider ball python gene and the wobble are connected. There has been, they've bred it with multiple genes and still has a wobble. The degree seems to be somewhat random, as in if you have a spider ball python with very bad wobble and you breed it to, you can't, so starting out, you can't breed spider to spider. It's a lethal gene. It kills them. So you breed it to whatever other morph you want, and then those spider babies, they won't have as this huge severe wobble that the mother might or might not have. So it seems to be a little bit random. Again, there's no real research on it, so there's not much that we can go off of except for personal experience. Dave's video is cool, but he missed the point that in the UK, it is not the government who banned it from the expos. Yes, that is the huge thing, and I'll get into a little bit of Brian's one, but I'll just talk about it right now. Brian, I don't know what happened there, but Brian was for some reason under the idea that it was the government that banned it, and there was already legislations in place, and he talked about, I don't know, he made like a wisecrack that is he going to go to jail if he breeds spider ball pythons, and it was kind of like, oh man, you're like the first dude that talked about this, and you don't really know all of it, which was a little bit disconcerting, and again, really opened up a lot of other people to dive in and poke holes in his statements. I did not like Brian's video. There was a bunch of holes that you could poke on. You can't have spider python without some degree of well, some severe. Government messes with everything reptile already. They already trying to keep me from Florida. John, why would you be for government regulations when the place you want to move to is about to have a huge ban on everything that you like, large monitors and tegus? Come on, man. You gotta jump on my side. Suppose my arguments against arena spiders is since there is no way to know how bad the wobble will be, why are we breeding them in the first place? Sorry. Which doesn't actually do anything for the... Yes, John, speak the truth. It does not do anything for the invasive population. If anything, it's just going to add to it, but, you know, we're not here to talk about Florida's invasive problem. No one argues that tegus are an issue in Florida, but they are not solving the issue or changing it by banning tegus from the state. Unfortunately, it doesn't do much, but it is an issue that needs solution. It's a shame there aren't better ones out there. Yeah, I gotta agree. The whole banning of the Florida invasive, it's such a political move to where, you know, just any government officials like, oh, we're going to cure the tegu problem by, you know, these reptile keepers are keeping tegus and they're unleashing them out in the wild. So no tegus. And that's just going to solve the problem. All right, John, that's it. You're banned. Calm down, John. This is my live stream. We're taking it from here. Okay, we're going to move on to the next one. Jesus Christ, this is already 30 minutes. This is going to be... It's so next election at Senator can say, I saw... Yes, exactly, John. Good man. I assumed you would know this stuff because you are looking to move to Florida, so I'd be a little bit of a problem if you're like, let's move to Florida, but I don't know about the new laws. Stupid people will think they did. Yep. And then the media won't talk about it because it's on their fortune, and the tegu problem will just go away. So that's how it works. God, stay out of Miami. Okay, let's talk a little bit about Olympus reptiles, since I already brought them up. So if anyone doesn't know Olympus reptiles, they are a pretty big ball python breeder. I think they own a little under 100 snakes right now. That might not be true. I don't know how many snakes they own. They have a pretty good... They just got their own breeding facility, so they have like walls of racks, and the place is looking pretty cool. They seem to be pretty respectable. I'm a pretty big fan of Olympus reptiles. I've watched a couple of their ball python videos, and I haven't seen anything wrong with their breeding setup or anything that they're doing with their snakes. But Olympus reptiles does sell. They have quite a few spider genes in their breeding projects, and they are for the spider ball python gene. And here's a few things I did like and did not like. I kind of talked about most of this already in other videos because I kind of used them as a link to support things I did not like in other videos. But for the most part, just like Kevin, he again shows multiple snakes with the spider gene. And again, it kind of changed my perspective on a lot of things because really, for as far as social media and things like that, when we're looking at the spider gene, everyone's showing you the worst case scenario, and these guys are showing just these snakes that if it wasn't a spider ball python video, I would not know that that animal had any sort of neurological defect. Olympus Reptiles goes into how he believes bad husbandry is linked with the severity of the wobble. To go in a little bit deeper into that, overheating with snakes, which even if you don't have the spider ball python gene or wobble, there has been stuff talking about how overheating can lead to neural problems, even in animals that do not already have them. He talks a little bit about all the viral spider videos. Again, yeah, something that I agree with. He talks about how viral spider videos, the go herping ones, things like that, it's all worst case scenario and it's pretty sensationalized. Yeah, that's another thing. Of course, Go Herping didn't just put, why the spider ball python gene is bad. He had to put Brian Barczyk in there just for the views. I want to say it's just for the views. It might not be, but it sounds like a pretty clickbaity, sensational thing to do if you're just, looking out for the gene itself. Pretty much his stance on it. Don't like spider ball pythons. Don't breed them. Don't buy them. Kind of my philosophy at this point. I don't see an issue. If you don't like the gene, don't work with the gene, don't buy the gene. It seems pretty easy, but I see a lot of people talking about how we need more, we need the government to step in, we need regulations and boundaries and control. And it's a lot of novice people, a lot of people that don't have much experience in the hobby, it seems like. And I don't know, I feel like it's people that have no idea what's going to happen when you go down that route. So some stupid people will think they did. Oh, wait. Coming from someone who lives around there. So why do you think that a regulation by the law is bad? Why shouldn't government help protect the health of the animal? Oh, someone subscribed to me. Hey, thanks, someone. I don't know if you're on here or not. Sorry, I get email notifications while I'm looking at this as well. Hello. They should, but the U.S. government has continually shown to be opposing the side of reptile exotic. Hang on, John. I'm getting to that. I watched 3 hours of these videos, guys. We're gonna go over these fucking videos. I did not go in vain for all of this. There's only like 2 more. I'll pretty much go a little quicker on these because it's pretty much all the same thing. So, looking at Clint's reptiles one. It was funny. So, something interesting about Clint's reptiles. Clint's reptiles, before he talked to a bunch of breeders that worked with the spider ball python gene, I can't remember where he went. He went to, maybe it was Tinley. I don't know if it was Tinley or not, but this was probably a year or a little more back. He talked about he was pretty much against the spider ball python gene, but the fact that his mind might be changed if he talks to spider ball python breeders and got some firsthand information on the spider ball python gene. Clint owns, I think, 2 or 3 spider ball pythons himself, and he seemed, after that expedition to wherever it was, I can't remember, his opinion seemed to change about that. So he talked about some of his main talking points were that, so we're talking a lot about thrivability, and people are talking about how a lot of people are talking about how the wobble is so bad that they can't eat, they can't move, and things like that. But if these animals are suffering as much as some of these people like CS Royals and Go Herping are saying, then I don't know. He believes that they wouldn't be able to breed them, and I kind of agree with that too. There wouldn't be as many. There wouldn't be this huge explosion of spider ball pythons if we were having all these issues that some of these people are saying. He talks a lot about the thrivability in snakes. So a lot of people are saying that some things are this animal is just surviving; it's not thriving. And he goes a little bit. So the issue I have with this is we don't know. We don't know. You cannot tell me on either side. Is this animal happy? Is this animal sad? Is this animal in peril? Is it not doing well? Is it not thriving? You can't tell me that the genetic issue is playing a part on detrimentally or not, because there's no research. There's no actual scientific research being played on that. Something that you can do, which is just looking at common stress signals in snakes, and that is restlessness, constantly moving around, not feeding, not breeding, regurgitating their food, and then early deaths. And we're not seeing this in any of them. And that's something you kind of have to take note of, that if these animals are in so much peril that so many people want to talk about, then why are they doing all these things? I know some people won't agree with that, but it's something I agree with. Clint claims that a lot of spiders are doing better in captivity than other ball pythons. I don't know. I don't talk to a bunch of spider ball python breeders and normal ball python breeders, so I don't know if that's fact or not. But it's a talking point that he said, so I figured I'd show it or talk about it. And then pretty much he says the same thing that a bunch of other people said, which was every argument, not every, but I put every, but that's not true. Most arguments against the spider ball python is the rescue. And again, we don't know what happened with them. Of course, poor husbandry, overheating could be a link to the severity of the wobble that these snakes are having with the people that they rescued from. We don't know. And you can't really say either way if that's true or not, but it is something to be said. So we'll get back into, I see there was a lot, the chat kept popping up, so we'll dive into this real quick. That was me. I'm Salty. You're welcome. Also, BSBA, PETA. Yes, we're going to get into that. We're going to get to Humane Society, the SPCA, and PETA against government regulation. We're going to talk about, I have a great example about Maine that is going to be really shapes. I do have a bias against government regulations. I think government regulations with exotics and reptiles in general is the worst thing you can do because we need to think about this. Most of the people don't like reptiles. Most of the people that think people just, if you go up to anyone and I'm like, hey, I have 50 reptiles, people think I'm a fucking freak. And that's pretty their mindset on things. People think that some of my snakes are going to eat me and that they're the scariest, vicious things. So we don't want this general population now taking a look at us and being able to pass and vote laws on stuff that they don't know and think that are just scary, cold-blooded monsters. We'll get into that later, though. Government is typically not on-site reptile people, like Professor Herb said. Yep, neither is the public. I'm sorry, I just said that, and then I read you just said the exact same thing. Now I gotta disagree with the breeding thing. There are plenty of animals that breed that have issues. So we're not talking about just the breeding. We're talking about just all of these. So all of the normal stress issues that you can find, because that's really all we can do. Because again, no studies are being done. So we can just take a look at what are the common stress signals of a ball python and attribute that to the spider ball python. And most of the time, most of these breeders are not seeing any of these stress signals. A lot of here are much more lax in accepting this. I would think Germany would overreach like the U.S. and would actually care about meaningful laws. I don't know much about Europe's reptile laws, so I can't really say anything about that. Just like dogs generally. General fear is a problem with the public, so any myths about reptiles are out there. Listen, man, people still think that snakes size up you for like a week before they eat you, so I'll just put that out there. Very true, John. Very true. See, this is the issue. They're going to think that we're hibernizing arachnids and reptiles, and we're just creating like this scary fucking monster that crawls up and eats you. Case in point, the current president. Oh, we're not getting political here at TBCB Exotics. As you guys know, I am very, very conservative, very Republican, Trump all the way. That's satire. Don't clip this. I don't know what I'm talking about. There you go, John. I want your next live stream to be about government, and you need to get like as political as humanly possible. And then maybe you won't disturb some of my subscribers, John. I'm not talking about special reptile laws. I'm talking about a law that is protecting animals' health in general. Yes, that would be cool. It should give them lights. If they want to protect animals, that's great. But usually a good law is just a way so they can have more authority in the area and worse laws in the long run and money. Like you have to have a license to own so many fucking permutations. So if we're talking about Maine, there's so many permits that I have to have for so many animals that I want. And there are quite a few animals also that I just can't own in general unless I'm a zoo or some sort of educational facility. And it makes no sense because I'm in New England. Nothing that I own is going to be any form of invasive. It at best, if it gets out in June, it's going to live 2-3 months max. Our October temperatures get down to the 30s and 20s. That's going to kill a reptile. That's going to create a huge problem with its immune system, giving anything like a bacterial or fungal infection is going to kill it in weeks. So I don't understand why Maine's laws are so tight. But yeah, it's a lot of permits, a lot of shit like that. Clipped. I just shared to 3 Facebook pages, and yet there's only 9 people here, John. Hey, Spencer, how's it going? Yeah, I don't think you should need 10,000 hours of venomous owning any venomous or certain species. So like, it's not like you get 10,000 hours of working with venomous. You can own venomous. It's you have to get 10,000 hours of Kaboom Vipers, and then you can own a Kaboom Viper. That it just seems a bit excessive. Sure, why not? I could use a little break. I'm probably going to stop the YouTube thing. It pretty much just says the same thing. Pretty much the same thing over and over. I don't know. Some of the people, it's pretty much just a lot of stuff that I'm against with, but you guys pretty much have the general idea of the issues. So what's this off-topic question? I'm intrigued now. Let's hear about it. We'll do one off-topic question. Oh, I'm sorry. It's 1,000. It's not 10,000. Could you imagine 10,000 hours? Yeah, that's a huge issue. Yeah, you need to apprentice for someone, and yeah, if someone messes up, like you basically just killed a kid. So I don't know, if I had my venomous permit, I probably wouldn't apprentice anyone. Hey, you weren't the guy that wanted to ask the off-topic question. You can feed a tegu really anything. So I feed mine a big variety. Any insects, superworms, mealworms, dubia roaches, crickets, ground turkey, ground chicken, a bunch of vegetables, collard greens, dandelion greens, apples, a couple other stuff. Just a huge variety. If you go to, maybe if you just Google tegu diet, they'll have a nice list for what you can feed them. If I'm going to, I'll live stream my geckos. Sure, we can do that as a live stream. I'll probably do that the next one because I don't have any other ideas after this live stream's over. But getting back to the spider ball python gene, because we're still at 47 minutes, so I'll hang out here for a little longer. Yeah, John, how about John? You're my moderator now. You can help out with the tegu answers. What else do I have here? Oh yeah, just one last thing I wanted to talk about YouTubers with Mother of Serpents, because I did want to include her because I thought it was interesting, because she's like a wicked small YouTuber. I think like 104, 120 subscribers. But the one thing that I enjoyed about her video was the fact that she lists all the genes with any type of neurological defect. So stuff like she lists the champagnes, the wumas, the hingene wumas, and then the jag gene in carpets and retics. And literally, I didn't see anyone else do it. I think CS Royals did it. Maybe I think they talked about like 1 or 2. I think they did talk about like champagnes. A lot of people talk about super cinnamons too, but that's kind of a whole nother argument, because super cinnamons, they have the kinking issue. And it's a little more different when you're talking about kinking versus neurological issues with spider ball pythons. Spiders are being talked right now because they're arguably the most popular. It's true. Renee brought up a good point earlier, was if you lay pretty much most of the ball python genes down, the spider gene is definitely the most aesthetically pleasing and the most aesthetically desirable out of all the morphs, in my opinion. Morph color looking is pretty opinionated, but in my opinion, I think it's the coolest looking morph, and I think that has a pretty big factor on why so many people are for the support of continuing to breed them. So we'll kind of draw a conclusion. We're at 50 minutes. I'm sure there's someone, I can't remember your name, I'm so sorry, but someone was really into why government regulations are bad, and we're going to get into that now because I don't want to draw this out for too long. In a positive light, I think it's good. We're at least discussing the ramifications of the community, trying to get them into. So people like Go Herping want government regulations. People like CS Royals, they want, pretty much both of them. They want government regulations. They want outside sources coming in and telling us as a community, as breeders, what we can do. Something that really irritated me about CS Royals is, I don't know how long the girl's been doing it. She seems to have a small YouTube channel. It's just what I can go off of. She seems to have a pretty small collection. She talks about she has like 20 or 30 ball pythons. That's not much. Even I have like 60 or 70 animals. That's not much when we're comparatively speaking to full-time breeders. And she made this point to say that hobbyist breeders should lead the movement on what's ethical and what's right, because these business owners are only in it for the money. And I have a lot of problems with that. If we're talking about someone who's just been in the hobby for a few years and likes snakes and has a couple of snakes, and we're comparatively speaking that their opinion and their ideology is so much more important and pure than, say, so we'll talk about Kevin McCurley, for a man that literally devoted his life and has been doing this for decades and decades. Fuck. Sorry, I just read John's. You totally threw me off, John. I'm flexing with my fucking 800 subs, I swear to God. Decades of his life to reptiles. I mean, you can see, even if you're looking at Nerds live streams from a couple of weeks, people are talking about how they're like slightly concerned with Kevin because he literally spends every waking moment of his life in his breeding facility in Nerd. He works with snakes. He does everything for his animals. And now you're telling me that his opinion is not as credible or right as yours because you're not doing this as a full-time thing, because you haven't dedicated your life to this, because now all of a sudden, because he's doing this as a career, it's all about the money and he doesn't give a shit about the welfare about his animals. That's fucking dumb. And I don't believe that for a second. And that gets me pissed off when we're talking about how certain people can have elitist fashions because they're doing something different from other people. Even then, saying it just doesn't make any fucking sense. You're talking about because you own less snakes, your opinion matters more? Fuck off with that. I got a little heated with that. That pisses me off. Got a little heated. Another issue with that is the fact that if we're releasing smaller channels who have smaller animals, it just goes, I bring up Kevin a lot because he's someone I look into, and it's something I think this man is very knowledgeable. I think he has a lot of information out there, and I do believe he's the reptile expert. He has a lot of good, solid information, and not even just with reptiles, but just in life generally. I think he's a wise man, not to kiss ass too much. But Kevin talks a lot about tribe mentality in the reptile community and controversial issues such as this. And so when you're going to have someone that's going to lead the movement and that their ideology is the only right way, now all of a sudden you're going to get a bunch of novice people that have no idea what they are saying, no idea what they are doing, just new people in the hobby. They're just going to hop on this bandwagon because that's what my person believes in. This is the person that we have to follow. And it hurts my head, like why that makes any sense, and why would state that we're going to start the movement of what's ethically right and stop big breeders. Fuck off. We'll sidetrack for a little bit. My take is still under brumation. John's not, and I'm super jealous about that. Mine's been down since like a long time. October. He'll be down to like March, just because temps in Maine are like wicked cold. Like it's 17 outside. And so in my room, I think the room in there, just with all the lights off, it stays at around the 60s. So he won't be coming up anytime soon. The key understanding is that we should be doing formal scientific studies to get answers. And I believe that's what we're doing. I'm not 100% sure. I see a lot of people doing experimental studies. Chris Hardick, for example, he is doing studies that he believes that overheating the spider ball python egg is the sole reason, or not the sole reason, but could be a contributing factor to why these animals are having some neuro issues. So I believe, is trying to cool eggs at a lower temperature than you would with normal ball python eggs. And I don't know. I know a lot of people are doing like independent research in their little experiments. While debate is meaningful, it is little value to the information being used. That is not meaningful. Exactly. It's all anecdotal. It's just personal belief, and it just goes back and forth. I think that's a real issue. When we're talking stuff about like loose substrate, there is fact and there is fiction. And most of the people against loose substrate just don't have all the information. It's just quick little snippets of info. impaction, loose substrate causes impaction, end of study. But like, there's more to it, and people that are more knowledgeable seem to be the ones that are more pro substrate. I stream once a week. I'm going to stream every Saturday at 6 p.m., just like this one. I was either going to do this or Wednesday, but my schedule changed. So Saturday is going to be the day that I'm going to do it. I should probably mod everyone. Herp and DVC is like, yeah, I actually reread that. I guess that's what I said about the beginning too. There should be more scientific studies for those problematic morphs. So something I really do believe in, and I saw a couple people saying it, is although it is 2020, and I mean, it's 2020, you should know what the problems of the spider ball python are now. Some people don't. Some people don't go on the internet. Their lives aren't all about the reptiles. So I do think there should be some transparency with the morph, and I think there should be a lot more upfrontness. CS Royals talks about some sort of disclaimer on, like, so say Morph Market, that's a pretty big reptile marketplace. So just like, so when you go to spider ball python North, there should be a little disclaimer at the top that says, hey, the spider ball python gene is linked to neurological issues. What's up, little dude? A little mountain horn dragon just like jumped down. And I agree with that. I think that there should be a lot more transparency. I think we should just be upfront on what the wobble is and just the issues linked with the spider gene. I don't know if a lot of people are upfront with it. I don't know. I don't buy spider ball pythons. I don't own a spider ball python. I don't know if I'll ever own a spider ball python, but that's something that I do agree with. Oh yeah, mine did that for a bit before he finally went down. Oh fuck, this chat really is getting nuts. Hang on, I gotta. Oh man, the rack systems and the enrichment thing, that's going to be, that'll have to be another thing for another time because we're at 58 minutes. And my voice is kind of going to shit. So we'll be wrapping it up a little bit and going over to government regulations, why they are bad. This is the moment that some of you have been waiting for a bit. So I got off track with that CS Royals thing. I was supposed to talk about the regulations, and I went on that tangent. But regulations are most likely the worst thing you can possibly do with the government. And we can take a look. We're getting to the main examples.
Get to it.
God, I like caught myself up about the whole main thing, because the main thing is a very, very valid point. And even if we're talking about the Florida thing that we talked about earlier, that's, again, a valid point, because as John's saying, it's a political reason. It's the next election. This guy, he's the one that stopped the invasive tagos. You should vote for him. When the thing that you're doing doesn't make, it's not going to work. It's a fucking political Band-Aid that's not going, I got to stop reading the chat while I go on these tangents because it fucks me up. It's just a political little Band-Aid that's not really going to do anything. So, government regulations, why they are bad. A lot of people think that we should have outside forces handling our stuff and telling us what we can and cannot do. We need outside influence to tell us what's ethical and what's not ethical, because people believe that we cannot police ourselves and that we are just unethical with it and just money in breeders' eyes, and that's all they're thinking about, which, again, I don't understand the money thing. We literally just went over this. Spider ball pythons aren't going for anything more than any other ball python. Why are you guys thinking this? Come on. I'm getting angry. It's the main thing. The main thing gets me so upset. Okay. Perfect example of why government regulations are the stupidest thing that you can think of. So in Maine, I cannot keep any large body snake. Boa constrictors are the largest body snakes I can have. I cannot own anacondas. I cannot own retics, Burmese pythons, South African rock pythons. List goes on. Large lizards, crocodile monitors, Asian water monitors. I believe I can't own blackthroats. Things like this. Anything large and scary. So while regulations were being taken place, they were, a couple years ago, they were doing it, rearranging their exotic laws. And that's when we had people, as stated before, we had the Humane Society and PETA coming in on this. Now, the Humane Society and PETA, people like this, their whole sole thing is exotics should not be owned by people. This, what I have behind me, I am an awful person for keeping these animals. Even though most of these are captive bred, most of these have been in the hobby for years, I am an awful person. These animals should be released in the wild, and I should not be able to own these without any proper permits or just not own them whatsoever. So these people, their entire fucking goal and their entire mission statement is stopping people like me, people like you, I'm assuming everyone here owns reptiles, from owning reptiles, owning any exotic. My birds, anything like that, I shouldn't own those because that is inhumane, and I am an inhumane person for doing that. So let's get into the main thing. We'll get into the Wessie story, how this is all alleged. I don't know for sure, but I'm going to say allegedly how PETA, the SPCA, the Humane Society figured out and had to get the mass population to believe that there is an anaconda swimming around and living in Maine. Yes, an anaconda, an animal that comes from the Amazon, a very hot tropical area that's in need with a certain degree of husbandry, that's certain degrees of temperature and humidity, was able to survive in our nice spring to summer Maine. A couple little information, people that aren't from Maine or the New England area. Maine's temperatures in spring range from pretty much the 40s to 70s, and then in the summer it does get pretty hot to the 80s. Stuff about anacondas. So you guys need some backstory. Anacondas, for people that don't know, I love anacondas. I think they're beautiful. I wish I could own one. I cannot. And here's why I cannot. The Westie story. So anacondas, they are such a large-bodied snake that they need to, and are commonly found in large bodies of waters to help relieve all the stress of the weight that these snakes have. Maine's waters, even in the summer, they're fucking cold. You're going to get temperatures in the 50s to 60s easily. Even on the hottest days, it's not getting warm. Now, you're telling me that this large body snake that is going to be commonly found in these waters is going to be fine in these 50 to 60 degree water. It's not. This is a snake. This is a fragile animal that's not going. This is not a hardy animal. If you're putting this animal in sub conditions, anything below 75, let alone 50 to 60 degrees, it's going to have a weakened and compromised immune system. That immune system is going to be then triggered by bacterial and fungal infections and then die. Die. It's not going to live long. There's no way it can live long. Even in spring, our weathers go down to the 40s to 50s. This animal's not living out here. They figured out how to convince the public that this cold-blooded killer is. Then, a couple of weeks after this news article got out that there was an anaconda sighting, there is no proof that an anaconda was around. Some guy said, there's an anaconda out there. We need to stop it. Where's the anaconda? We never fucking found the anaconda. You know what we found? We found a perfectly shed anaconda snakeskin placed around rocks. I don't know how many of you own large body snakes like retics, Burmese pythons, anacondas, things like this. Let me know. I don't own one. I watch a couple of people that have one. I know people that have large body snakes. It is very rare for a large snake to shed perfectly. And I am saying that this snake shed that they found in the wild in Maine was perfect. The humidity was perfect for the animal, and it shed perfectly. Not a snippet, snap, missing, a perfect snake shed. You don't get that. You don't get that in perfect captive environments. You don't get these perfect sheds. So you're telling me an animal that is completely out of its own element, the wrong temperatures, the wrong humidity, is shedding perfectly? That's bullshit. That's fucking bullshit. That was a plant. But the government bought it. The people bought it. Now, people seem to have a problem with the regulations. People are saying, well, that's not that bad. Like, why do you have a problem with regulation? The government's good. The government can help us. So let's talk about how the government did their research and who they turned to get information about anacondas. Now, someone, with the smart Any common sense? Biologist, herpetologist, zoologist. Kevin's right there. Kevin's in Plasto. You can go ask Kevin. He'll tell you straight up. He has multiple videos on it that it's fucking bullshit. No, they got a cryptozoologist. Does anyone know what a cryptozoologist was? It's the man that studies boogeyman and Sasquatch and the chupacabra. And they got this guy to tell us that anacondas can do this and this is real. Because all allegedly, I imagine that if you ask any self-appreciating person that has a snippet of information about reptiles, that they are going to say, you're talking out your ass. This is not true. There is no fucking anaconda out there. So yes, that's why I believe government regulations are bullshit, because people in the government don't give a fuck about us reptile keepers. People are going to talk about people that have more influence, people like PETA, people like the Humane Society, people with money and people with power are going to outlimit, because these are animal rights activists, PETA, they're all about the animals. So obviously what PETA says is right. I'm just some fucking guy with a wall full of animals. What the hell do I know? That I'm the guy in the wrong because I have no platform and I have no monetary gain to be making with these people. So yes, the government is bad. The government is not looking out for you. The government is looking for personal gain and they're looking for profit, just like everyone hates with the spider ball python gene. They're going to permitize things where you're going to have to enlist permits, and they're just going to ban things because they can. And then, looking into what a lot of breeders are saying, we're going to open the Pandora's box, and we are going to go down a very, very slippery slope where you're going to have stories like Wessie popping up in the Midwest and the central regions, and even now the southern regions. Even we're talking about Florida, the invasive problem. We need to ban those. So why are we banning them everywhere? Okay, if we ban the spider ball python gene, well, what's next? We should probably ban the jack carpets, the jag retics, the champagnes, because they're all showing neurological issues. We should ban those. So then what else are we going to go into? Are we going to start targeting the silky bearded dragons, the scaleless ball pythons, the scaleless corn snakes? Because that is a defect, and those animals would not survive in the wild, which is the large argument with you guys. So what's going to happen next? Are we going to ban those? What about the albino gene? These have sensitivity to light and UVB. That's unethical. We should get rid of them. And it's just going to go more and more until everything is this tight nitpick thing, and all we're going to have left is little tomato frogs and little crested geckos, and that's all you're going to be able to own. There's no more bearded dragons because they get too big, they get too scary. I know fucking states that won't allow you to have a snake more than 3 feet. That is fucking ridiculous. Yeah. That is my issue with government regulations, and I get so upset when people that don't know much about it think it's a good idea. And it's why I have such a problem with people like Go Herping that are standing up to people like Kevin McCurley, who does so much for this hobby, the man that goes after every single legislation and fights for our right to keep reptiles, is having some 19-year-old kid try to show him up. And I'll be honest, I don't want ageist or whatever it's called. I don't know. When I was 19, my difference in my opinions were a lot stupider. I'll be honest, I was fucking dumb when I was 19. My opinions, I believed that loose substrate was bad for bearded dragons. I didn't know any better. As you age, you gain more experience. And people need to talk. People are talking about how these people that have been here for decades and decades are off with the times and they don't know what they're doing. But we're going to have some newcomer come in that's been here for 6 months tell us what's right and what's wrong. Don't buy it. My throat fucking hurts now. Oh man. Yeah, let's read these comments. Sorry if I got a little heated there. That stuff just gets a little much. I just throw it would take a rumination would be better to watch than try and tackle the change. Do you have a rumination vid? I forgot. I do have a rumination video. It's funny, my Tegu puberty video got like 1.3 thousand views, but this one got like 150, which I thought was pretty odd. Oh, she already answered that. Never mind. Oh, it's okay, Professor Herb. I advertise in your live streams all the time. Anaconda. Yeah, the wind chill was negative 20 yesterday. That's the issue. Because the issue is, where is the line? We're talking about what's healthy, but where's the line? Are we going to ban all morphs because morphs just aren't healthy because they're a genetic abomination? Because some people do have the ideology that we are playing God with these morphs and that we are wrong. I talked to a dude in Connecticut that told me I was an awful person because I was breeding morphs and you should only breed pure tokays, and he only breeds pure tokays because everything else is bad, and the normal wild morph is the only morph that should be bred. Things like that. And if we're talking about fines and punishment, we can talk about how Fish and Game has ridiculous fines and punishments for people. So we can talk about goldfish, which, yes, are an invasive animal, and I do agree with that to a T. However, let's talk about the laws against goldfish and really carp in Maine. You cannot own any type of carp in a pond outside in Maine. So this includes goldfish, koi fish, carp, the carp family. The fine for getting caught with goldfish in a pond is $2,000 per fish. Going back to Kevin McCurley, we can talk about one of his live streams. He has a friend in Maine who had a koi pond, and she got raided with men that came in and stormed her place with AR-15s at a SWAT team storm. I don't know what the fuck to call it, because she had goldfish in a pond. So, I don't know. Abuse of power? Yes. Government? You don't want the government involved. Why? Why do we need the government involved in this? There are so many things in the hobby right now that are such big issues that we should be going after that I don't understand why this is the thing. This is the thing that people want to tip over and start opening up this Pandora's box, because that's what it is. It's going to open this thing that we cannot get back, because once the government gets involved, they're fucking involved. You can already see, ever since the 90s, things are just going more and more downhill. And we want to do this for the spider gene, man. A neurological issue that has yet to be discovered to show any significant events to this snake being detrimental. The majority of snakes are feeding and living and breeding and living their entire, showing no signs of stress, and I don't understand why people want to get the government involved in this. They want this to be the thing that turns over, and this is why we're going to get the government involved, is because of I remember hearing about something in the UK with their government, and they're talking about how their animals need to have a certain dimension requirements. I don't quote me on this because it's been a few years since I heard it. It was at a podcast, but they were talking about how every animal that they have to have someone come in. They have to have the permits, and people come in, and their only requirement are these dimension requirements that are so like vague and weird that they don't make sense. So like, it's this weird thing where like, okay, so like the dimensions for a corn snake needs to be 4 foot by 3 foot by 3 foot. This is just a not correct example. So you could have that thing as bare as possible, or let's use ball pythons for example. You can have a barren tank with a 4 foot by 3 foot by 3 foot, which of course bare tanks cause stress to ball pythons. This is fact. I'm not saying put ball pythons in small boxes and put them in rack systems. I'm saying that if you do have large enclosures, you do need to clutter a little bit to make them feel more secure. You can have that and be totally legal, and that is detrimental to that snake. And that snake is not going to thrive in that enclosure, but the government says it's okay. Now, if you have a 4 foot by 2 foot by 1 foot enclosure and have that perfectly set up fine, that's illegal. That's breaking the law. That is the issue I have with the government. The government is not reptile people. They do not converse with the reptile hobby. They're not going to talk about our OGs, our big guys that have been doing this for decades and decades. They are going to talk to cryptozoologists, and they're going to create laws that make no sense but just look pretty on paper and what appeal to the mass public, which the mass public, by the way, doesn't like reptiles. No one here, as a majority of our whole in a society, they hate reptiles. Look at any popular reptile video on Facebook that's public, that's not on a reptile page, and look at all the people saying that they'd kill it, they'd shoot it, they'd run it over, it's an abomination, it's a killer, they'd burn the house down. People don't like reptiles. And to have an outside source of people that don't know reptiles and don't like reptiles spells disaster. Exactly. What's the line? What's the area where we're talking about? Because we're talking about healthy animals, but who gets to decide that? That's what I'm asking. Because again, there's no scientific proof. We cannot scientifically say that these animals are 100% healthy and totally fine, or these animals are detrimental and this problem is a real issue. I fucking hate government regulations, and I think people that want to incorporate government regulations with their hobby need to look at some of the government regulations that are already being exhibited even today. Look at the Wessie, read about the Wessie story, and tell me that government regulations are a good thing. They're not. That's the short version of the Wessie story. Is it's completely fucking dumb, and I can't own big, beautiful, amazing snakes because of it. I can't own an anaconda, even though I have the space. I have a 28 by 30-foot space. I think even more. I don't know. It's a huge separate building that I have for my reptiles. I could give an anaconda a wonderful life. There is no way this animal could escape. And even if it could escape, it would die because, hey, it's 11, 12 outside. We have about 4 inches of snow. That animal's not going to live out there. But hey, I don't know jack shit because I'm not a cryptozoologist and I do not have powerful people in powerful places. That's getting a little bit too conspiracy. So we'll. Oh shit! I'm like way behind. Yeah, that's a good fucking point, John. We're talking about what's ethical, but we're talking about PETA. PETA is the reason why right when I started my breeding journey and became a reptile breeder, PETA decided to take shares into Facebook. I am no longer allowed to sell animals off of Facebook. I have had two community strikes already for trying. I'm going to keep trying. I might get banned. I don't fucking care. I'm not going to stop because PETA thinks that I'm an awful person because I have some frogs in a 29-gallon. Come on, John. You both know we want the crocodile monitor. Dakota is Jesus. That's more than I'm worth. Goldfish. Oh, Jess, if you're from the UK, do you know anything about what I'm saying? I don't know if it was in the maybe it was some Europe. It was a Reptiles and Chill, their podcast. It was one of their episodes, and they talked about it. I don't know where exactly they're from though, which is my issue. All right, you know what? I mean, as far as the candidates go, John, I'll elect you to be a president at this point. People see problems with solutions, so they go to the government because it's the only agency that can force others to do what they please. Solid point. Solid point. Give an inch, they take a mile. Solid point. There we go. Yeah, you were already on it, Jess. Thank you. Awesome. Cool. Really cool to have someone from the UK, by the way. That's really awesome. I didn't know I had anyone. I looked at my little analytics, and I have someone from Canada, but I didn't know that you were from the United Kingdom. So that's really awesome that I have people from totally like the other fucking side of the world watching. Sorry, the mountain dragon's like going nuts today. The bias is incredible. It's what I'm saying. True here in Alabama, the only good snake is a dead snake. Yep, you're gonna find that in most of the mid, like eastern, southern like South Carolina, Alabama, things like that. Yep. Reptiles, inquiries, and discussions. Inquiries and feedback. Great group. That group was dedicated to the basically knowledge and reputation of people. So you could give your feedback if you had a positive transaction. If you got scammed, you can let people know. That group was amazing. It had 80,000 people. It had years and years of records. So you could search the person's name and see if they had good posts, bad posts. Because of PETA, that got taken down. All the years of records, and this is helping people evade from scammers, things like that, people from losing money. And PETA said, fuck you. And Facebook, Mark Zuckerberg said, fuck you. And they shut it down. They shut a bunch of reptile groups down. Some were cell groups, so with the rule, that is understandable. Something to note, that rule was established in 2012, 2015, one of those dates, I can't remember. And it was always a rule for years, but they ever since that's not to say that that rule was not implemented and enforced in any way until PETA started grabbing shares to Facebook. So if that's a coincidence, I don't know. I don't have any good sayings. It's not a coincidence. Yeah, that shit's crazy. Especially for pet shops. So something that, that's a serious problem too, because people always talk about like pet shops keep their animals in too small of setups, but like it's meant as a temporary setup. They're not meant to be there for the rest of their lives. They're meant to sell. Now, I don't agree with keeping like a full-grown female boa constrictor in a 40-gallon. But to a point. They're not meant, like bearded dragons in 12 by 12 by 18. People like talk shit about that. I'm like, okay, well, they're only there to be there for until they sell, which usually isn't very long. So that's a common and popular pet. So I don't know. 122, huh? Well, that's pretty much going to wrap it up, guys. Guys see me get a little heated there. Get pretty passionate about some of these things, and it's to be expected in some cases. I guess check out breeders or home breeders better through Facebook. I don't really understand why they have removed animal sales. They removed animal sales because PETA believes that anyone that sells a living animal is a piece of shit, and that instead of that animal being sold and shipped to another owner where they're going to love it and take care of it and just, live with it, they think that animal's better off dead because it can't go in the wild. Because PETA is a piece of shit. It's going to be hard to get monetized on YouTube. At the beginning of this channel, and this made, I like really tried hard not to swear, and then like I messed up once, and since then I'm like, fuck it. Is fauna going away? I hope not. I like fauna. Fauna's a really cool place for people that don't know what fauna is. Fauna is it's pretty much like the OG marketplace or morph market. It's where a bunch of people go, the classifieds, to show off their reptiles for sale. Not many people are on it now, but the cool thing about fauna now is you can find a bunch of cool stuff on it. Like some of the more rare stuff, like you're not going to find a bunch of crested geckos and stuff, but you're going to find like scrub pythons, like rough scales. Sorry, I'm looking at crested geckos. Things like that. Just the more like stuff that you don't usually find everywhere else. Now, rehoming, so the sale of reptiles and exotic or animals in general goes against the community guidelines. You can still do rehoming. So people are rewording stuff to talk about rehoming and donations and things like that to try to like trick the algorithm, because no one's actually looking at it. It's all algorithm and keyword based. So if you say this animal is for sale or ISO, things like that, it's going to get shut down because Facebook algorithm is going to pick it up and delete it. Oh, 1 hour and 24 minutes. Yeah, pretty much going to wrap it up. I don't have much else to say. think I went over it all. Some good, some bad. A couple people agree. Most people don't. That's okay. I want to know where all those people that were in my last stream that were for me. Oh well. That's a beautiful thing right now. Is opinion's an opinion. I can have mine. You can have yours, and that's totally fine. But really, the big takeaway from this is, if anything, I don't believe a government regulation is necessary. I know people talk about how we don't believe that we can police ourselves in any way. I think if we're 100% transparent and we have those disclaimers and things like that, which I think people should be a little more intimate on and work with. But I think it's all about the market regulating itself at that point. If it's really that much of an issue and there is that transparency and that disclaimer, they won't be around anymore because people will know that it's not good. And if it's really not that good, people won't get them anymore. And if not, then it must not be all that bad if people still want it, knowing that there is this problem with it. At the end of the day, I think that, yeah, I agree. I agree that transparency is a huge thing that we should do. If anyone wants a good laugh, also, if you go down to Nerd's Spider-Ball Python video, you'll find Go Herping commented on it, and it is great. I really enjoyed it. There's a bunch of back and forth between him and Kevin gets like wicked sassy, and it's good stuff. It's a bit of a long read, so it's going to take you a few minutes, but it's good. It is an achievable step, and that's something that I personally would pursue and I could get on board with. But when we're talking about the complete ban of them, or just more science, again, this is all based on the fact that we don't have any scientific studies out. If they're tomorrow, if this live stream stops and all of a sudden I get a notification that if the study has been shown that spider-ball pythons, they are not thriving and it's very detrimental to them, I'll totally change my opinion. I'll probably make another video and saying that, hey, don't listen to that live stream because I was wrong. But until then, I don't think it's this huge issue that everyone's making it out to be. And I think it got blown way out of proportion because, again, social media. From a lot of people, if you haven't seen a lot of my or some of my live streams, I talk about how I think social media is a huge negative thing towards the hobby. And I talked a little bit about how it affects the hobby in many ways. And this is one of those ways because you get people like Go Herping, a 19-year-old kid that made a video on his rescue spider-ball python, how awful it is, how it's biting itself. And now you have 800,000 people thinking that the spider-ball python is this monstrosity. But I'm pretty worn out, I'll be honest. I don't know if you guys can tell, so we might wrap it up. Next Saturday, I'll do a Crested Gecko. Someone wanted to, who was it? There's been too many chats now. Hey, Jackie, how's it going? We'll do a Crested Gecko showcase. We'll talk about my Crested Geckos. And we're pretty much into breeding season. Just a few more weeks. I'm probably going to hold off a little longer than most. Some people start at the end of February. I'm probably going to start in March because I have Xena, my Super Dial Tiger that'll be breeding. I'm not going to be breeding Pebbles this year. I want to give her a year off because this was her first year breeding for me. Cookie, my Super Dial Inkblot that everyone seems to really love. She's sitting at 38 grams. The last time I weighed her, she was 38 grams. So I want her to get a little more chunky before we breed her. So we're going to hold off as long as we can. I'll probably do it in March. And then, of course, we have that tricolor that I bought, which I thought would be bigger by now, but she's not. She's sitting at 29 grams. So I think she'll be able to make weight by like closer to the end of the year, like closer to the end of summer. So I might get a few clutches from her. And then, of course, we also have the that red Dalmatian that, if you guys don't know, I just got 3 new Crested Geckos donated to me. One was it's this really like red, I don't know, neon red, I guess you would call it. Dal Crested Gecko. She has some nice red spots. I'll be pairing her with Spots, my I don't know. I'm talking about Crested like I'm not going to make a live stream about it. So A lot of crested geckos, a lot of babies. Of course, we have 8 babies right now. Time to sleep. Great discussion. See you next time. Have a good one. Moses? Sorry, I can't see very well with the chat. Chat's like at this pop-up button. For some reason on the side screen, it won't let me look at it. I don't know why. So I have to like pop it up, and it's like minimized to the corner. But yeah, I don't know. I guess I can open the floor to some questions for a few minutes if anyone has any like last minute questions they want to get out before we wrap it up. Pretty much other than that, something super exciting is I finally paired my I had that oddball tokay. For some of you guys don't know, I don't know what morph it is. It's this. She's like the mix between a granite and a reduced pattern. No one's been able to tell me what morph she is, so we're finally going to do some breeding and see if we can prove some stuff out. So I just paired her with my reduced pattern male, and I'm wicked stoked for it. It's only been like a day or two, and they're already showing signs of the bonding. Tokay geckos, for people who don't know, they do form some sort of a bond where they live in pairs. You can pair them. I have like a normal pair that has been paired for like 6-7 months now, and they've been doing great, but they can pair off, and they do show paternal instincts, things like that. So the bonding timing, or whatever you want to call it, I don't know what the right word is. Sometimes they do. I've had tokays not get along with males or just not copulate, so you need to be removed and put another male in there, but they're doing great. They're sharing hides and staying close together, so I'm super excited to get eggs from them. Let's see, we got some comments here now. I'm going to miss all your live streams now. I have a new schedule, so I'm working late Saturdays. Ah, man. I don't know. Yeah, the problem is I worked on Sundays, so I can't keep these going. Like, it's already 7:30 now, and I know everyone's like, 7:30, Dakota, what are you talking about? Well, I got to get up early for work, guys. You know, I'm not as young as some of you whippersnappers. I'm getting old. My back hurts right now from sitting in this chair, and I got, 60, 70 animals that I have to close down every night. So that takes at least an hour or so. So, I usually try to keep them going an hour and a half, but my bearded dragon shat on my hair. Yeah, bearded dragon poops the worst. Any insectivore, they just have some bad poops. Well, all right. No one has any other questions or anything. I guess we'll start wrapping this bad boy up. Next live stream will be about crested geckos. The next video out. Okay, so something funny about this. Next video is going to be about social media. I made this video and had it ready around the same time that I started the my live stream about the social media and how it affects the reptile hobby. So I didn't want to post it while I was doing the live stream. I wanted to give it like a week or two, because I already made this video like 6 or 7 weeks ago. But at that time, it wasn't in. There's like an order of my videos. I make a bunch of videos, and then they're in order of what to post because I post on certain days. I forgot about this video, so it's like 6 or 7 weeks old, and I just now realized. So that video is coming out tomorrow. It's going to be about how social media, specifically Facebook and Facebook groups like that, have negatively impacted the reptile hobby, and some things like that. It's pretty good. It's about 10 minutes long. It's a little old. I think it's before I had a microphone, so the audio is a little off, but I don't know, it's pretty solid. There's a funny skit in there, so for those of you guys that like my funny little skits, I do have one of those in there, so check it out. You'll be coming into tomorrow, probably like, I don't know, 3, 4 o'clock whenever I get off of work. $38 bearded dragons. That's to be expected, though. It's weird. Are you like a breeder? Because I know like bearded dragons like huge clutches of like anywhere from like, I don't know. I've heard like the highest being in like the 30s for eggs, but I don't know how common that is. And I know they can lay clutches every like, 90 days? It's pretty intense, it seems like, being a bearded dragon eater. Hey, no problem, Supreme Gecko. You missed a pretty good live stream, if I say so myself. I don't know. It could have been bad. It was mostly negative, or not negative. You know, I'm not going to say negative again. Differing opinions on the ones of my own, but yeah, we're at 135. I'm running out of stuff to talk about. I'm tired. We're gonna wrap this up. 8 pairs of adults, man. That's pretty cool. We were all civil. Yes, no one called me an awful person. So that's pretty. That's what I'll call a win. Oh, thanks, man. I really appreciate that. Anyone that, by the way, Supreme Geckos, he makes some great videos on crested geckos and isopods. If any of you guys are interested. So also next week, will be Saturday, 6 p.m. I'll try to make a thumbnail here and let everyone know, so everyone like set remind. Do you guys set reminders on these live streams? I don't know if people do or not. Oh no, no worries, man. I like your videos. I like helping out any small YouTuber that has good content that just it seems like nice, enjoyable content, and that's totally you. And I just like helping other people out because I know how hard it is to grow as a small YouTuber. I'm having my own little struggle here. It's been a pretty long journey to get to 800. All right, 136. Yeah, we're gonna wrap it up, guys. I'm closing the chat down now. Hope you guys have a great night, and until next time. All right.